Hello everyone, this is Anne from Odulcina Scrap. I am back today with a video tutorial to show you how I do my sewing, like creating little clusters like that. So I'm gonna do a bunch. And first, let's do sewing on a cardstock, like a picture on a cardstock and laces. And then I'm gonna do a bunch of clusters like that I'm sewing and then that I decorate. So it's a sewing tutorial, but also how I do my little clusters like that of decorations. I'm gonna do some sewing between corrugated cardboard, a little bit of lace, and that picture. I have just a regular sewing needle, and what I'm doing is I'm gonna sew straight, and I'll just do a little back and forth at the beginning, so it's kind of tacking the thread. And then I'm gonna just sew, and I'm moving a little bit while I'm sewing. So I'm gonna lift the feet of the sewing machine to turn, and then I'm gonna sew, and you can see I'm moving a little bit, and it's totally on purpose because I want to go twice around the picture, and I want that my sewing lines are kind of crossing. So you see here, now I'm gonna do kind of the opposite. So if you're not good at sewing, it hides that, because obviously it looks like a real beginner at the end, and everything that was straight will not be straight, and everything that was meant to be not straight can be straight as well. And if I arrive at the corner like that, the trick is to go manually. I can always like move manually with my hand and do just one more if I'm at the edge, so I don't pass. I don't go too far. So I prefer, if I'm almost at the edge like that, if you're stressed, let me change the angle. So if you're too stressed, you can stop there, and then manually with your finger, with your hand, you can turn and manually make it move for the last ones. And if I want to finish it, I can go back one by end and then go back one like that. And then you make sure that your needle is at the highest. You open the feet and you close your threads. And let me show you the results. So when you look at that, you can see that it's perfectly imperfect everywhere. You see, they're overlapping, they're twisting. So it doesn't care if you're good or not to make straight lines. So I can do really, really perfect straight lines because I've been sewing since so many years. But this is the way I prefer to do my sewing for junk journals. I prefer to go twice around my picture or whatever paper I'm sewing, and I just move my lines like that. Do you like that? That's a perfect way to hide any mistakes. I did a couple of clusters like that in the past, but I never showed you like what I do in front of the sewing machine. So I can really show you how to do the sewing. I mean, I just press the pedal with my foot and I control how it's sew. But what I want to show you in this video is maybe if you can see how I'm working a little bit, that can help you if you're a beginner. So as you can see, there's a couple of clusters on the table already done. What I've done is I pre-made them, kind of. I know where I'm going, And just to show you how they're done, you're gonna see me showing you all the layers, how I place them, and then how I do my sewing. You're gonna see that I start with a tracing paper in this case, but it could be a piece of paper or herbal tea. I love to use one of those pieces to give a structure to the little cluster. In this case, I've added a piece of lace behind just because I wanted to cut the lace with the tracing paper, but the tracing paper or a piece of paper will kind of really help with the structure and with the sewing. You're gonna see that I'm using a lot of my scissors to help placing the fabric or the laces when there's a fold that is to be made. Instead of using my fingers, I'm really using those little scissors. They are so helpful. If you don't have that kind of scissors, you're gonna find some in any stores that sells sewing thread and sewing machines, on Amazon, on AliExpress, anywhere. They are really, really helpful because you can do some sewing and hold them in your hands as well, and they're really thin, and it's easy to use them to place your fabric and even to cut the threads at the end. It's really useful. So as you can see, I'm sewing another time on the same cluster just to add this little piece of lace. I could have glued it, but because I didn't mind seeing the thread, I just decided to sew it on top of it. So far, I've been sewing little pieces of labels printed on fabric, but you can sew paper as well. So this is an example. It's just a piece of paper. So if you don't print on fabric or you don't have anything printed on fabric, you can use any scraps of piece of paper that you have and use it doing the same process. Stacking. In this case, it's a tissue paper and a lace and paper. So as you see here, I'm gonna use a piece of paper behind the herbal tea because the herbal tea and the lace you can see through, and it's not really like giving it a structure. So I've used a piece of paper just to give it a structure, and it's going to help me as well at the end when I'm going to glue it on a paper, on a page, let's say. See, I'm using the scissors to give attention to my fabric so it doesn't create big folds. And that's it. In this case, look at this bow that I already had in my scrap pieces because I did it in the past and I didn't use it, so it was there and I just found it was just perfect. All right, here I'm adding papers, tracing paper, and an herbal tea, and then just that cute little label printed on fabric. That's all I need. I tend to start my sewing because I need to do a little tack, like the little back and forth of 1 or 2 stitches at the beginning and the end. It kind of shows, right? So I tend to start my sewing where I know I'm gonna glue something on top of it to decorate the cluster at the end. So when I want to start my sewing, like here, I started on the side because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna sew something on that left side. I'm gonna add whatever, and it's gonna hide the little tack of thread. This is how I decide where I'm starting my sewing. sewing little booklets now. It's easy. I just took a bunch of scrap pieces of papers, tracing paper, any kind of paper, and I had those labels printed on paper that I never used, and I just decided to fold them and use them as a cover. It's just a little piece of paper. And how I do that is I created my fold and I just made sure everything is aligned with the fold. And like you see right now, I align the paper with the sewing machine and I just follow the fold. That's all. And I cut the thread. The hardest part would be maybe to follow the fold. But other than that, it's as simple as that. I just place the paper, I make sure they don't move. And if you just have 3, 4, 5 papers, it's not a big deal to keep them all aligned and all together with your fingers. You just hold them tight and then you follow the fold with the sewing machine to sew through the fold. And here you go, you have a cute little booklet made out of scrap pieces. I gathered together all little tiny pieces of laces that I have, and well, not all that I have, but a portion of it. And what I'm doing is, like you saw me doing in numerous videos, I don't overthink the process. So I grab something and I try to place it different ways. And as soon as I find that it looks good, I just glued it. So I'm using my hot glue gun and I'm using sometimes my art glitter glue. Any kind of glue works fine, honestly. It's just that they're my favorite. So I'm gonna use some little pieces of laces, but as well some ribbon or some chiffon silk, sari silk, and I'll just place them. So you don't really need me to comment everything that I'm doing. I'll just put the music on. I'll just put a Speedy. I'm gonna speed up the videos and just enjoy watching, and maybe that can inspire you. If you're still here, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great week. God bless you. Bye bye.